Okay, let's start out proving that these. I can't read that man's name, and it don't have his name really on there.
It's on his chest, you just can't.
But you can't see it, yeah. But the other one, Frank Boaz, that's one of them. But anyway, they're both Jewish guys, white Jewish guys. They were actually Amalekites. Okay, the first thing you do to prove that these guys are wrong, you go to the scriptures. You go to Deuteronomy 28th chapter, and it gives you a list of 12 curses that will be placed on only the Israelites. There are going to be 12 basic nationality curses. Among them are having no power to stand against your enemies. That's black people. Slavery and captivity. That's black people. Let's see here. At the bottom of the social ladder with other races high above them. That's black people. Loss of their true knowledge of who they are and to be called by scornful names other than Israel and Hebrew. That's black people. Packed into prisons and jails. That's definitely black people. And when I say black, I mean blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. A non-prosperous people. That's black people. We don't own no hotel chains. We don't own any airports. We don't own any oil factories. We don't own any manufacturing plants. We don't own anything that produces whatever we need. We're very religious and members of all religions. That's black people. We jump in everybody's religion except we don't read the Bible ourselves. So oppressed by our people, we're an oppressed people by our enemies. That's black people. Now, let's take this chart over here with the other 18 nations. Let's go down the line. The Edomites, they're not oppressed by anybody. The Elamites, those are the Pakistanis and the East Indians. They're not oppressed by anybody. They come over here to America and do whatever they want to do. Open up a gas station, a motel, convenience store, whatever you want to do. The Asherites, never heard of them being oppressed by anybody. Aram, the Syrians, you don't hear about them being oppressed. Ishmaelites, those are Arabs. Shoot, they own all the land with all the oil in it. Those are the Israelites. Chinese, those are Moabites. The Chinese oppressed by anybody? No, nobody messes with China. Japanese, other than getting sacked in the Second World War, guess what? They get reparations from the United States for the people the Japanese people that were put into the camps here during the World War II. But now they're at the top. We buy our products from Japan, and everything said either made in China or made in Japan that we buy. So they're not oppressed. They're making money on us. Okay. Ethiopians, they come over here and get taxi cabs or start a business themselves. Nobody stops them from doing it. I've never seen a Ethiopian that's over here driving a cab get taken to jail. The Egyptian people, of course, a lot of people confuse them with, in fact, the people you see today that look like Egyptians are not the original Egyptians. The original Egyptians are the dark-skinned Africans like the Sudanese, Kenyans, okay? But the people you think are Egyptians today, they're basically Ishmaelites. They're Arabs. Well, no, take that back. They're Turkish. They're a mix of Turkish. But they all worship Islam. So they don't have any oppression by anybody. They fight amongst themselves, but they're not oppressed by another nation. Okay, let's see here. The North Africans. North Africans come over here and start a business. Most of the time they'll start some little private business. They'll come over and get a license and sell cars and import them back to their country, Africa. They do that all the time. South Africans, the Canaanites, the South Africans. A lot of South Africans are white now. So what happened in South Africa? They came back when Mandela was released, and now they've taken their country back. So nobody's oppressing them. In fact, they're oppressing white people. All right, let's go down to Japheth. The original. Let's talk about the original Japhites. All right, they're all the people on the islands: Australians, Polynesians, Hawaiians. They're not oppressed by the white people. Now, the Aboriginals got taken over in Australia. They got taken over. The whites did go over there originally and take them out of Australia. However, they did not suffer the slavery. Now, they still are there, and they didn't wipe out their identity, like the curses say. The curses say the Israelites will lose their identity of who they are. None of the Japhites lost their identity of who they are. They got kicked out of their land, but they didn't lose the identity of who they are. So these curses match up only with the so-called Black Americans that are here today. None of these other nations suffer each and every one of these curses together, collectively, except the so-called Black Americans. That's why. That's your first answer as to the lies that these people taught. Now, so you've gone to the Bible and you've proven that what they're claiming is are the sons of Ham, that the black people, Black Americans, are sons of Ham. We have evidence by the Bible that's not correct. Now, let's go here to the archaeological evidence. These are the Israelites in Egypt in captivity. They don't look like white people. So these people that are claiming to be Jewish can't be descendants of these black people. These are black people. These are the Israelites. So these Israelites cannot be the forefathers of these people, Jewish people. Archaeology is your second answer. That's your second clue. Let's go one step further. These are the northern Israelites in captivity up under the Assyrians. They still look Negroid with woolly hair. They don't look white. Now, again, according to the biblical birth line or seed line of Shem, the Israelites come from Shem all the way down to Abraham, then Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So these people that you saw on the walls in Egypt and in Assyria are black people. So the people that are on this chart at the bottom that says Israelites are black people. Okay? Just by going by seed line. Now, let's go one step further. This is a chart of the 12 tribes of Israel, but it gives you their names that they were given. They're called the bywords and proverbs, which are the Jamaicans, Haitians, Dominicans, Guatemalans, Puerto Ricans, Panamanians, Cubans, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, Argentinians, Chileans, the Polynesians, I'm going to correct that, Polynesian, actually the Uruguay and Colombians and Mexicans. All right, those are the names that they were given. All right, but if you look real closely, you see that every one of these people on this picture that are current pictures of those people on those islands today, they're all black. Negroid features, Negroid dark skin, afros, woolly hair, Negroid features. Every one of them, even the Israelites, what you call Mexicans. So everybody that you think is not an Israelite, or everybody that is an Israelite according to the archaeological evidence, all the Israelites and where they were scattered from, where they are now, they're all Negroid, dark-skinned Negroid people. All right, so under the Israelites down here, we're going to put this little chart up right here. See if I can get the stick up under there. Got a little glue on it. All right, yeah, that works out just fine. Okay, so 2350 BC, the flood takes place. The earth is wiped. Everybody on the earth is wiped out, except for the 3 sons of Noah. Noah and his 3 sons and their wives. The 3 sons repopulate the earth. One of the 3 sons is Shem. Shem is, since he's the oldest son of Noah, the blessing goes to the oldest son, so the blessing went to Shem all the way down his line to Abraham, and then Abraham, that God loved, went to sacrifice Isaac on the altar, and under God's instruction he was going to do it, but the Lord sent an angel to stop his hand. So Abraham made the Lord made the promises to Abraham and his descendants, his promised line, not the line of the Ishmaelites and the other concubine wives, but to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And then Jacob became the father of the Israelites. All the Israelites today are black people, Negroid black people, except for the ones that mixed. They got conquered by the Spaniards and the Portuguese, so they lighten them up a little bit. But if their bloodline goes back to the original people that were over here before 1492, then they're still Israelites. Now that we got that cleared up as far as how the northern kingdom are Israelites, because we can go to Genesis, the 49th chapter, and the reason why we have this chart here that shows where all of the 12 tribes, of the 10 lost tribes were. We have the biblical account in 2nd Esdras 6 and 54. 2nd Esdras 11:30, and we also have the Old Testament prophecy of Genesis 49, which gives all 12 tribes and where they would be and what they would be doing in the last days. That matches up with this chart perfectly. Now we're going to come to the, because I got some questions about when did the white man, and I keep getting this question, when did the white man pop up on the earth? Because everybody agrees that when Shem, Japheth, and Ham repopulated the earth, everybody was black. Yes, everybody was black. Nobody white hit the earth again until 1836 BC when Esau came on the scene. When Esau came on the scene, he's one of the Israelites. He's one of the Hebrews. He is a Hebrew, but he is a Hebrew Edomite. You have Hebrew Israelites and Hebrew Edomites. For all practical purposes, all the fighting and all the bickering and all the diplomatic relations that they're trying to create, all of it has to do with this one fight. Hebrew Edomites and Hebrew Israelites. That's your battle. Everybody can fight and step on each other's toes, but this battle right here is the one that stems all the way back here to 1836 BC, and it has been going on ever since. You just read your Bible and you'll see it. So the whole key is these Hebrew Edomites are taking the place of the Hebrew Israelites right? The Hebrew Israelites, these people are trying to take the place of these people so they can put themselves into the heavenly salvation, the heavenly kingdom, or heavenly rulership instead of these people. It won't work, but if they can convince you that you're not who you are, you won't come back to God's law, statutes, and commandments when you should, and that will prolong their time here in your place. Now, let me see here. Let's do that now. No, I want to do that now. I want to do that. No, let's see. I got that. Oh, yeah, there we go. There we go. I'll have to take that out. Okay. So everybody keep asking me, where do these people come from? If you just take your map out of Israel and you look way down here at the bottom, you'll see that the Edomites were right here, just below where Judah was. This is before they moved over to Mount Seir, right? After they moved over to, and the Edomites became a nation, they moved over. Get your map right here, and if you look, let me see if I can highlight it in pink so it won't blot it out. Let's see here. There's a little city here that says Georgia. I marked it in pink. Right there. If you look on the map, that's on the western part of Russia. It says Georgia. Okay? It's just north of Turkey. It's just north of Turkey. Here's Turkey. Here's Georgia, Russia, right here. Now, that is, if you look real carefully, let's see if I can highlight that. See, this is yellow. Let's see if I can highlight that right in there and pink that out. Right in there. That is where, this isn't a real good map, but that is where Israel is. So all they did was move up to Georgia, Russia. Okay? But just right in here, that's what Jordan is. Jordan, just below Turkey, is Egypt right here. So they didn't move too far, but they moved away to Georgia, Russia. This is where they started out. Okay, after they left the area, after they were first born. See, this right here, where they were south of Judah, that's closer to 1836. But as time went on, they moved up to Georgia, Russia, in Mount Seir. Now, so let's continue with the timeline. So if you got 1836 BC, the Hebrew Edomites and Hebrew Israelites come on the scene. They come on the scene. Now, we're in the year 2019. So if you take 2019, add 1836 to you, that's going to put you close to 4,000 years ago. Now, let's go to the DNA. DNA result says that, I didn't print those pictures out. The DNA result says that the Neanderthals hit the scene about 3,000 to 4,000 years ago. That is just between 3,000 and 4,000 years ago. That puts you right smack dab in the middle of when the Edomites hit the scene. The Neanderthals. So, now that we know that the Edomites come on the scene at the same time the Neanderthals come on the scene, odds are that the Edomites are the Neanderthal because everybody else was black or dark-skinned, melanated, except for these guys. Why? Because they had the curse of Cain. We can go over it again, but we've done it many times with Genesis 25:25, with Esau coming out red like a hairy garment. In other words, he's extremely red-haired man with red hair from the top of his head all the way down. He was a red, hairy man. Now, but he also had no melanin in his skin, wasted away as heat, which is what Esau means. So you got a red, hairy man. You got a man, a man with red hair and no melanin. So he has no color in his skin. The only reason he looks red is because his hair is red. Also, when we know people today that have no melanin, when they have no melanin, when the sun hits them, their blood shows forth through the skin. That's another reason they're red. All right. But the main thing is this dude is very, very hairy. Now, the biblical account says that the mother had to go and get an animal skin that had hair on it. Now, let's go over here to Genesis 25. Let's go over here to Genesis 25. Let's see if I can pull this out. Just to get clarification, and then we're going to move on. I don't want to stay on this too long. But let's go over to Genesis 25. And let's see, this first came out red like a hairy garment all over. Let's see here. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. Isaac loved Esau because he ate his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Okay, let's see, let's go over here. Let's see, go to Genesis, Genesis 25:33, it says that Jacob said, swear to me as of this day. So he swore him and sold his birthright to Jacob. So all of you scoffers that are saying that Jacob stole the birthright, he didn't steal it. Esau sold it to him, sold his birthright to Jacob. That's verse 33. All right, let's move forward. Thus Esau despised his birthright. See, you get the birthright because you're the oldest son. All right, okay, then there was a famine in the land, blah, blah, blah. Let's go on down. Abimelech touches, let's see here. Philistines envied. Let's go away, okay. Let's go over here to where, okay, well, Jacob deceives Isaac, okay. Jacob said to Rebekah's mother, look, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man. That's in Genesis 27, verse 11. It says, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man. Okay, so everybody wants to say that Esau was red because his blood showed through his skin. Yes, that may be for his face, true enough. But the main part of the reason he was red is because he was a red, hairy man. It says that he came out red all over like a hairy garment. That's red hair. So he had red hair. Extremely hairy man. Okay, so they say, well, okay, well, it's a lot of guys that are really hairy. Okay, this isn't talking about your average hairy guy that you see today. Okay, and I'm a smooth-skinned man. Perhaps my father will fill me and shall seem to be deceiver to him, and I shall seem to be a deceiver to him. But his mother said to him, let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go get them for me. And he went and got them and brought them to her, and his mother said, savory food. Rebekah took choice clothes of her eldest son, Esau, which were in the house, and put them on Jacob, her youngest son, and she put the skins of the kids of the goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. Now, if anybody who's ever raised goats, you know that the skin of a goat has hair on it that is not like the hair on a human being. It is extremely thick and coarse and hairy, extremely hairy. A goat skin, you can make a coat out of goat skin because the hair on it is extremely hairy. It's not talking about hair like, oh shoot, who's that guy that's on TV that's real hairy? Can't remember his name. Oh shoot, there's a guy that's, I can't remember his name, but anyway, men today, white men are usually extremely hairy compared to us. We don't have hair on. We don't have hair on our body. Very thin hair. You can't even hardly see it. But white guys are really, most Caucasian guys are extremely hairy. However, they're not as hairy as this guy. This guy, their forefather Esau, was so hairy that you could take the skin off of a goat, which is thicker than anything you can see, and put it on him, and he couldn't tell the difference. He thought Isaac thought that Jacob was Esau because he had the skin of a goat on him. Now, if your hair is so thick and hairy that like a goat, that's thick hair. So it's not talking about just somebody's got some little light hair on his knuckles. No, it's talking about a man that's extremely hairy. So again, it said that she went and got the skins of the kids of the goats on his hands, and she put the skins of the kids of the goats on his hands, and the smooth part on his neck. So when you got hair like a goat way up here on your neck, that's hairy. That ain't hairy like, you know, Charles Bronson. Charles Bronson, that's his name. He used to be an actor. He was kind of hairy. But this guy had hair all the way up here on his neck. I mean, that's hair. So that ain't talking about regular hair today. That's talking about a hairy man. Now, there's another being that came on the scene exactly the same time in 1836 BC, between 3,000 and 4,000 years ago. It wasn't on the earth any time before this, according to archaeology. They haven't found any skulls older than 4,000 years old of this creature. And this creature, let's see if I can have him, always shows up extremely hairy whenever you see him. This guy right here. He's a man of the woods. Our people, the Native Americans, call him the wild man of the woods, and he's extremely hairy. Now, you'll say that, well, that's just folklore. They came up with that in the 1960s and 70s when they started making videos and stuff. This picture is from 1836. I'm sorry, 1936, before they had video manipulation. See what that is? That is an Indian costume of a creature that lives in the woods. 1936. That is an Indian Chippewa shaman standing there doing a ritual that they use this ritual to try to keep the creature away from their villages. That's the creature. He's extremely hairy. So, this creature shows up. This creature and this creature show up exactly at the same time, 3,000 to 4,000 years ago, that Esau shows up. And at that time, Esau was the only one that was not melanated, but had a lot of hair. So the Neanderthal, which we know came on at the same time, was what you would call the Hebrew Edomite Neanderthals. Now, they'll tell you that the Neanderthals only have, about 15%. The white man today only has 15% Neanderthal in him. I wouldn't trust that. Those are the same people that told you that white people only have 15, Caucasians only have 15% Neanderthal are the same people that told you that everybody came from Africa. And we know that's not right. So you cannot trust your enemy. He uses crafty counsel to tell you all types of lies, and the whole purpose is to keep you from knowing who you are, obeying the commandments that were only given to you, to keep you in subjection up under his rule, because the longer the Israelites stay ignorant to who they are, the longer these people stay in power. We're now in what's called the Great Awakening. We're now waking up to who we are. You cannot tell us that we're not Native Americans just because we have dark skin. You cannot tell us that we come from Africa just because we have dark skin. You cannot tell us that we are Hamites just because we have dark skin. Now, this picture is a picture of a statue that, let's see here, where is that? Get this stuff over here. Those so-called archaeologists that go down to Mexico, there you go. These archaeologists that found Negroid statues down in Mexico also found these goomers down in Mexico. All right? Now, they try to tell you that these people, so I'm going to get another one here. These people, and again, these people are constantly trying to tell you a story that does not pan out. They're constantly trying to tell you a story that the Israelites look like these, and that the Africans, the Africans look like these, but these aren't Africans. Africans didn't come over here. The Israelites came over here. Now the Olmec did come over here, but they didn't stay here. All right? So what they do is when they find stuff like this, they're like, uh-oh, we don't want them to know that something that God created actually exists, but we can't ignore this, so we'll just say that this and these are the same people, but they're not. This is not a human being. It's not. This is not a statue of a human being. You got to remember, the Native Americans have been knowing about the creatures that were also here long before the white man got here. We knew who they were. We built cities to keep them out. We knew who they were. But when the Europeans came and destroyed our cities, these jokers started creeping around. So we kept trying to tell them, hey, look, these creatures are out there. 1936. That's a creature. That's not a man. So 1936, we tried to tell them. Now, any person that's got half of an anthropological examining mind can tell that this is not a human being. This is not a human being. Human beings don't walk around with snakes in their mouths. We don't eat snakes. Okay? Can't eat snakes. Now, you can tell by the protrusion of the forehead and the distance between the nose and the upper lip that this is not a human being, plus the teeth. You can tell this is not a human being. There's no way that's a human being. All right? But they don't want to tell you that that's this thing. But you can tell by the size of the statue, the way the skull is made, that is not a human being. That is a creature. So what they want to tell you, they have to hide any evidence that proves that God's word is correct. This book tells you that these creatures came on the scene, and if you just go to the Apocrypha, it'll tell you that the unknown beasts that were newly created, that are going to be used for vengeance, are here. But they were newly created. Now, that brings up the good point. Well, Adam, Christ created everything, and then Adam named everything. However, newly created does not mean the beginning that would be created. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth and everything on it. But newly created has to start somewhere between created, the first creation, and today. Newly created is somewhere in the middle. Now, we don't have any evidence from the scriptures or from archaeology that says anything else on this planet was created except right here. The Bible gives you an account about 3,000 years ago. Archaeology gives you an account about 3,000 years ago. Now let's move on from the Bible to archaeology to DNA. The DNA tells you that the Neanderthal, where's my marker? The Neanderthal was here 3 to 4,000 years ago. The DNA says that a Neanderthal mated with a primate at this time, 1830. This 1836 represents 3 to 4,000 years ago. 3 to 4,000 years ago, you had the Neanderthals on the scene. 3 to 4,000 years ago, Esau is born. Esau comes out red like a hairy garment with no melanin. Okay? You can say that that's a coincidence, or you can take it at face value, but the DNA evidence, the archaeological evidence, and the biblical record all point to the same thing. They all point to the same thing. That Esau is not only the progenitor of the Edomites, but he's also a part of Esau is the hybrid, brings about the hybrid of, that thing come down? There we go. The DNA says that a female Neanderthal mated with a male primate. You said, well, you can't interspecies breed. Well, okay. Why is it that the so-called Amalekites were practicing what's called bestiality? So much to the point where they needed to be all destroyed. Now, so because of that, we got a three-way coincidence of the Neanderthal record, the archaeological record, DNA record, and the biblical account that brings you back to this right here. So for those of you who want to keep asking me, well, when did the white people come on earth? Well, that starts here at about 1836 BC. You didn't have them before the flood, except for the people of Cain. Cain had the mark of leprosy. All right, that mark of leprosy came back when Esau came on the scene in 1832. So from 2350 BC to 1836 BC, you had no people without color. 2350 BC, after the flood, to 1836 BC, you had no people out of color. Everybody was dark skinned. Until Esau came on the scene right here at 1836. Esau. He's the only one that came out with no melanin. All right, so now that we got that, now let's go on over to let's go back and make sure. Let's see. Let's go over here and finish this up. Okay. So everybody, let me take this down right quick. Take this down. Let's see here. That should be the last time I have to answer that question. And I'm pretty sure it's the same people over and over again asking the same question because they can't get it or they don't want to accept it. All right, so now, here we go. Let's get this clear. 2350. 2350 BC. Shem, Japheth, and Ham. All right. Ham had the 4 sons, which were Cush, Mizraim, some people pronounce Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan. Those 4 boys became, let's go read it in, where's Zondervan's Bible Dictionary says that Ham became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. Everybody as an Israelite knows that Negroes is interchangeable with Israelites. So it should say not the Israelites, but it says not the Negroes, so we know it's not talking about the other African races. Now, here's the key. We're going to overlook Japheth and leave him out of this equation. We're going to leave Japheth out. Okay? We're just going to concentrate on Shem and Ham. Reason being is because the descendants of Shem are the ones that you keep trying to make Hamites, and they're not Hamites. The descendants of Shem, which includes the Israelites. Where's my chart? The Shemites, Shem is the progenitor of the forerunner of the Israelites. He's the forefather of the Israelites. Shem is the forefather of the Israelites. If I can get that whole thing in there. Shem is the forefather of the Israelites. Now, everybody wants to keep punching the black Negroid people that the definition of Ham says the dark-skinned races, but not the Negroes. But hang on. Let's go back over here. After the flood, everybody was dark-skinned. Even the Ammonites, the Syrians, the Indians. Today, even the Elamites, which are the Pakistanis and the East Indians, they're dark-skinned, but nobody tries to say that they're Africans. The Elamites, every time you go into a gas station or a motel, you see a East Indian person or Pakistani, they're dark-skinned. But nobody tries to say that they come from Ham or they are African. They are a part of these 4 African boys over here, okay? The Assyrians, the Arabs, let's go with the Arabs, the Ishmaelites. The Ishmaelites are actually the brothers of Isaac. All right? They're dark-skinned because their father Isaac was dark-skinned, their grandfather Abraham was dark-skinned, everybody up from Shem was dark-skinned. All right? So the Ishmaelites The original Ishmaelites are basically dark-skinned. The problem is, most of these nations over here, let's say the Syrians, Arabs, Chinese, and Japanese, even the Japanese and the Chinese, before they were called Japanese and Chinese, they were Moabites and Ammonites, they were dark-skinned. There are plenty of photographs of ancient Chinese statues that are Negroid. All right? Now, over time, guess what? Guess who went and infiltrated all of these nations over here and mixed with them? Edom. So when Edom comes on the scene Esau comes on the scene in 1836 BC, he doesn't have any melanin. So he goes and mixes with these other races over here. All right? Now, the main reason why you have Ishmaelites that are light-skinned, let's see, I think I got a picture of that. Let me see if I got that. There it is. Let's make no mistake. You got to be careful when you're looking at people who are supposedly today are a particular race. You got these Egyptians, but the people in Egypt today look like this. They're actually descendants of Turkish. And if you go back and look at your map, you'll see that when, do I have it on this map? Which map did I put it on? Oh, there it is. I want the blue on it. You'll see that when Edom moved to Mount Seir, what did he have to get through? He had to go through Turkey, right? Everywhere he goes, he infiltrates. So he lightened up these people. Now, these people here are actually of Turkish descent. They're not actually Egyptians, but they moved the original Egyptians had to move out of their land, and now these people are in their land. And we know that happens a lot because, let's see if I got that chart. Let's see here. Practice of the heathen nations.